Hey everyone, my name is McKenna, also known as Sylphic Studios, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today I'm back with a super exciting video because I can finally show you guys the second commission that I've been working on. So without further ado, this is the character we'll be making today. She is my commissioner's OC and her name is Thalia. She has such a cute design and I really love the side shaved hair that she has, so I am super excited to make her. And before we get into the video, I just wanted to say I am making this video and recording this voiceover not at my house. I'm at my boyfriend's house right now, so I'm not at my current setup. So if the video quality is a little bit different, that's why. If my voiceover is a little bit different, that's why. I am super anxious that everyone can hear me through the walls, so I'm trying to talk really quiet. But with all that out of the way, let's get into the customizing, starting with prepping. So for this custom, I decided to use G3 Spectra for the body and G3 Frankie for her face. And I chose these because I felt like together they would have looked like Thalia the best. Spectra has more of a standard height, curvy body type, and then Frankie has their own face sculpt, which I just felt like would have fit Thalia the best. And I chose this Frankie in particular because they already have a side shave, so that's only half the work that I have to do for the other side. So as always, to start everything off, I'm just cutting off all of Frankie's hair. Since this part can get a little bit repetitive, I am going to cut out a bit of this, so if you guys are interested in more detail on how I prep my doll's hair and cut their hair off, I have an entire Custom Doll 101 series that I'm making right now with tutorials, and that portion is already up, so I will link that in the description below if you're interested. But after I cut off all of their hair as short as I could get it, this is what Frankie looked like. And now that they're bald, it's time to boil their head off. So to do that, I just put some water in my kettle, put it in this little cup, and I'm just dunking Frankie's head in there for a minute or two. And once they've sat in there for a little bit, I'm just taking a towel and pulling their head off. The longer you let them sit in the boiling water, the easier it will be. Trust me, don't try to do this without boiling it. You will break the peg. So after that, I'm just taking my needle nose pliers and scraping all of the previous hair plugs out. Again, I go over this in a lot more detail in my Custom Doll 101 video that I'll have linked below, but I'm just taking my needle nose pliers and just scraping on the hair until all of it's out. This head in particular did give me some problems though, like the part line hair where the side shave was refusing to come out, so I had to reboil their head a couple of times. But after I did that, they came out way easier, as you can see, so I just went in and just scraped and scraped and scraped until everything was gone. And of course, once everything was gone, it's time to manually remove every single one of those plugs. So here I am just fishing out all of the little hair plugs. This reminds me of the fishing game from Club Penguin, if you guys remember that. Or like I said in my Custom Doll 101 video, it's like a claw machine, but you're blindfolded. Like, you can't see what you're actually pulling out. So after I sat there and struggled, this is what their empty head was looking like. And off camera, I went ahead and sculpted the other side of her side shave. I thought I recorded this process, but when I went through all my footage, I didn't have it, so I apologize. But I basically just took a thinner piece of epoxy sculpt and just laid it over the side of the head, and here I am just sanding it to try to blend it in as close as possible to the actual plastic as I can, if that makes sense. I'm trying to make it look as smooth as the other side of the side shave so that next to each other they look similar, you know? So I just went between my big sanding block that you see there and my little Dremel tool. This is how her side shave turned out after sanding. I think it looks really good. Since G3 Monster High doesn't make a doll yet with a fully shaved head or like double side shaves, I was having a hard time figuring out how I would fill those holes. So I'm really happy with how the epoxy sculpt turned out. I think that it looks really similar to her already made side shave. But with that being said, as you can see, I am just removing her face with 100% pure acetone. I like to use Q-tips for this. You can use like those makeup cotton rounds or anything that you can use to put acetone on, but I personally really like Q-tips. This is what the face sculpt was looking like after I removed all of the paint, and now it's time to get into the next part, which is the body repaint. So for this custom, because she has a lighter skin tone, I'm using the color Peach from Apple Barrel, and I did mix it with a little bit of white to lighten it a little bit. And of course, before I started the body repaint, I primed everything with a layer of Mr. Super Clear outside. And this is super important if you're someone that uses Mr. Super Clear, please use it outside in a ventilated area and with one of those respirator masks, because it is insanely toxic if you breathe it in and you don't want to give yourself some sort of like disease or any issues because you didn't want to wear a mask. So please be safe and responsible and wear that mask and use it outside. And the same goes with literally any other spray sealant that you use. Please use it outside. Don't give yourself any issues. And another super important thing, when it comes to the paint, I always water down my paint. That is like the number one thing when it comes to not getting any paint strokes in your paint job. So I always make sure to water it down a little bit. I will be having a updated body repaint tutorial coming soon. My first YouTube video on this channel actually was a body repaint tutorial, but it is like almost a year old. I think it is a year old at this point. So don't worry, a tutorial will be coming soon. But for now, this is what she was looking like after one coat of the watered down paint. Trust me, it looks a lot worse before it looks better. So I did all of the other coats off camera just because it does get a little bit repetitive. And now we're on to painting her hairline. So for this, I'm just taking my little detail brush and mapping out where I want all the colors to go, and then I'm just filling it in with my other tinier brush. And with a usual reroute, I would usually do this step like near the beginning before I did the body repaint, all of that stuff. But because I'm working with yarn wefts, the order is a little bit different. So I went ahead and reattached the head to the body before the repaint, and I repainted it all together. But now with all the base steps done, it's time to get into the fun part, which is the face up. So from the reference photos I was given of Thalia, she doesn't have any like heavy face makeup or anything. So for her, I focused really hard on her winged eyeliner and her eyebrows. So to map everything out initially, I'm just using my normal mechanical pencil. I'm pretty sure it's a 0.7. I would prefer to get a 0.5, so maybe I'll invest in one of those in the future. But once her face was sketched out, I went in and sealed that with Mr. Super Clear, let it sit, and now I'm on to layer 2. And layer 2 is when I actually start adding color and start building up all of the pastels and everything. So here I am blending out the shadows in her eyes. And even though she doesn't have any face makeup from what I can see, I still like to define the eyes a little bit, specifically the eyelids and the eye crease, just so that the face doesn't look as flat. So I just buffed in a warmer like brown shade to act as that shadow. For my second layer, I just focused on blocking in the color mostly, so I'm just blocking in her lip color and her eye color. And this is what her face was looking like after layer 2. So I went outside, sprayed her again with Mr. Super Clear, and now we're on to layer 3, which is where I start going in with all the detail work. So this step for me just consists of going over everything again just to darken it up, so I do go over her eyeliner twice within my process. And same thing with the eyebrows and everything, I just like to add as much detail and depth as I can. And then once I'm happy with that, I go in to actually finalize the eyes and add as many highlights as I feel is needed. And for eye highlights, eye shines, and the whites of the eyes, I do use acrylic paint for this because I feel like it just takes too long to build up with pencils. And once I was done adding all the details, this is her finished face up, and I'm in love with how she looks. I think she's so adorable. So now let's get into her yarn wefts. So for her hairstyle, we decided to go for yarn wefts. This same hairstyle probably could have been achieved with rooted hair, but I felt like yarn wefts would have been the best bet for this. So that's exactly what I did. So I went and grabbed some red yarn from the store. I like to use acrylic yarn. I know that you can use other yarn fibers as well, but for this hair I actually got cotton yarn first, and I tried using it, and while I was brushing it out, it just completely disintegrated and I could not use it at all. So I don't really know what happened there, but I will not be using cotton yarn going forward. But besides that, to make my yarn wefts, I'm just taking 4 equally cut pieces of yarn, tying it around a crochet hook like so, and then I'll be brushing it out with a pet brush. You can use literally anything to tie your yarn around, like a hanger, a wire rack, I don't know, anything you can tie something around. I just like crochet hooks. And just to be on the safe side, I make 2 of these for every head just to make sure I have enough hair. So once I'm done tying everything off, I'm just taking my wire pet brush and starting at the bottom. That's super important, start at the bottom. I'm just brushing out all of my yarn. In my experience, it is super important that you start brushing it out from the bottom, because if you don't, all of the yarn will just break off and you'll have super uneven wefts. So please just start at the bottom and work your way up so that you don't waste all your time brushing it out just to have super uneven hair wefts. This is what your yarn should look like after you brush it all out. It should be super poofy. So now I'm taking my super tiny straightener that I got off of Amazon, and I'm just using it to straighten all of the wefts. This is the part that actually forms the hair weft, so I always make sure to do this a couple of times, and I alternate between straightening and brushing and straightening and brushing just to make sure the hair is as smooth as I can get it. Once you're happy with how smooth your hair is, this is what it should look like. This is it compared to what it looked like before. So now that all of my hair is formed, it's time for me to actually make the hair weft itself. So I'm just taking some Mod Podge on a paintbrush and just pushing it between all of the hairs here. And I like to really glob it on there just to make sure that there's glue throughout the entire weft. And I just repeat this step until all of my hair is used up. I glue all of my wefts directly onto this like pink rubber mat. I think it's rubber, I don't know what it's made of, but nothing really sticks to it. So if you have like a mat or honestly like a table that won't get ruined if you put glue or something sticky on top of, I recommend using that, because for me, figuring out where to even make these wefts on top of was the hardest part of the process for me. So I recommend these cutting mats. But anyway, that's besides the point. So I let my wefts sit for 24 hours overnight to dry, and now I'm just taking them and cutting them into little squared off wefts. No matter what the time of day is that I do this, I always let the glue sit overnight just to be safe, because I don't want to ruin my wefts after putting so much time into them. So I recommend you guys do the same. After all of my wefts were cut, it's time for me to actually glue the hair onto the head, and this part was pretty difficult for me, to be honest. Trying to figure out how to do this hairstyle with yarn wefts was pretty difficult because it's like a half up, half down, like side shave style. So I had to make sure, especially for the top part of her head, that like the tracks on the side weren't showing. So like I said, pretty difficult, but I learned a lot from this head, honestly, and I can't wait to apply all of those different things I learned to new dolls in the future. This is what she was looking like once I cut all of her hair to length, and I think that she's looking so cute. I'm in love with this hair, honestly. It looks super soft, and trust me, it is super soft. I love yarn weft hair for that reason. So now it's on to the final part, which is her clothing. So for Talia's outfit, I unfortunately don't have any footage of me making that because I made it over at my boyfriend's house and I don't have my tripod over there. So I apologize about that, but I did record me adding all the detail work to it. So for her shirt details, I ironed on this little green star, and then I'm painting on these like dark red details on the hems of her shirt. And for her shoes, those actually were a little bit tricky because she has Converse and G3 Monster High doesn't make Converse as of right now. Of course, after I made these, they just announced a new Converse shoe mold with the new Venus doll, but whatever, that's besides the point. So to make her Converse, I took Twyla's Vans from, I believe, her Neon Frights Ultimate Secret doll, and I sanded off all of the detail work on the back, like the locks and all of the chains, and I painted them to look like Converse. And this step was super fun. It would have been more fun if I didn't accidentally sand and shape the same exact foot 3 separate times. I don't know how I did that. So I remade these shoes probably 5 times total. But it's okay, it's worth it, because look at how freaking cute they are. I'm in love with them. And with her shoes done, this is an overview of her entire outfit. I did add some details off camera, like her belt and everything. And I'm super proud of how it turned out. This was my first time making jeans ever, and I'm super happy with them. And I also think her shirt came out super cute too. So with that being said, let's dress her up and reveal the final doll. As always, thank you guys so much for watching this week's YouTube video. Like I said at the beginning, I'm sorry if the quality and the audio on this one is a little bit weird. I am recording this not at my house, so I apologize if it's a little bit off. Everything should be back to normal next week. I've just been insanely busy the last 2 or so weeks trying to balance personal stuff with finishing up all of my workload. But with that being said, as I'm recording this, I only have one more pair of shoes to make, and then I am done with my batch of commissions, which is super exciting. So after this video, you guys still have 3 more commission dolls to look forward to, as well as my Undyne doll and a couple more secret projects. So if you're interested in my upcoming projects, I highly recommend you follow me over here and also on my Instagram and TikTok as well. I'm super active over on my Instagram. That is my main social media, so if you want to keep up with me, I recommend following me over there. If you'd like some more behind the scenes content and early YouTube video viewing, I highly recommend following me over on my Patreon. Patreon is another way of supporting me as a full-time doll artist, so if you're interested, I will have that link below. And as always, a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters over there: Pumpkin Tushy, Morgan, Samuel, Daisy, Lisa, Kiara Y Coconuts, Titus Seraph, Arturo Ayala, Ali Neal, Brooklyn Butchie, and Nekakulo and Ariel. Thank you guys so much for supporting me over on my Patreon. I super appreciate it. That literally doesn't make any sense. I really appreciate it. Next week's video will be a super exciting one, so if you guys like Billie Eilish, you guys will want to look out for that. That is my very on the nose hint for right now. But with that being said, I will get into my little outro spiel now. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you all are having a good morning, night, evening, or whatever it is wherever you are, and I'll see you guys in next week's video.